Asshole podcast. Opinions are like assholes. Everyone got one. So I invite you. I welcome you to hear minds. What it do, folks? Pardon the voice. You hear? I don't know, young. We're in the middle of the summer, but this motherfucker has left me and gone somewhere. So I'm gonna do it like this. Open up season 3, episode 1, Asshole podcast. We're gonna talk about a couple different things, but we're gonna start with black wealth. It's like the movement in today's black society right now, or amongst black people in America, or even black people, I would say somewhat globally, but most definitely in America. It's like this movement of black wealth. Now, I want to talk about it because I think it's interesting because we seem to think as black people that black wealth is going to be what liberates us from our chains of our oppressors. And I think it's funny, to tell you the honest God truth, because at first it was civil rights, equality, you know, and then it was education. Education. We thought education was going to be the way out. Send our children off to school, get better education. And right now, the education gap isn't that far apart when it comes to black and white individuals, students, children, young adults. Like I said in a previous podcast, our education is kind of like on the rise. High school graduation is on the rise. College graduation is on the rise. Education is on the rise, right? But that doesn't equate to any type of wealth or any type of real liberation as black people from the chains of our oppressors. And like I said, I bring up education because we thought that was it. And I ain't trying to be funny, you know what I'm saying? We thought that was it. Like I said, there's always something. And then once that next thing get proved to be not it, we go back to the drawing board, and then we don't even come up actually, because we wait for the narrative that our oppressors, the powers that be, paint us, and then we run with that. And right now, it's black wealth or just wealth, which is funny to me because, like I said, it's not going to equate to any type of real liberation. And don't believe me, just watch. Secondly, it seems like I said, like that's the direction that the powers that be want us to move in. They want us to chase this drying up, dying sorts of what we know as wealth. And but like I said, man, the wealth, the power still lies with that 1 to 5% of Americans, or we want to keep it 100, that 1 to 5% is predominantly white people. You know what I'm saying? Predominantly older white people. When we look at the wealth gap in America right now, 80, what's that? Something like, where to go? 84%. We make up 4% of the wealth. And like I said, white people make up like 84% of wealth in America. So I want us to get that out of our head. I want us to get this idea of financial liberation is going to be what liberate us overall. Now, I will say I do agree when folks say before we can really start any type of movement, we need to be financially independent. And I get that. And I'm with that. But like I had this conversation recently this weekend, what do we do with that wealth? You know what I'm saying? What do, as black people, when we gain wealth, when we gain some type of power, when we gain some type of know-how, what do we do with it? Usually we hold on to it and we keep it for ourselves and our immediate family, and we kind of try to shut out our other black counterparts. And it's very funny to me because when we look at quote unquote black people with wealth, that black bourgeoisie as it is what it is. I would say, like my man Dr. Umar. But when we talk about that black bourgeoisie, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's funny to me because I know a lot of people jumped out there recently and called Ice Cube a sellout because for whatever reason, I'm not too sure why they call Ice Cube a sellout, to tell you the truth. Now, like I said before, if you in that limelight to one extent or another, you did bend or give, you did something. Yeah, I ain't trying to be funny. And I understand, Ice Cube saying he worked for himself and all that is fine and dandy, and I'm not gonna get on Ice Cube. But like I said, I will say what that whole Ice Cube thing is, where he said he works for himself, and he talks about not just Ice Cube, but a lot of people talk about how black people in America or black people with wealth can't really do nothing with their wealth, but as Dr. Umar say, be admired. They want this flash. You know what I'm saying? And to a certain degree, you got to look at that, and you got to say, for real, what has black wealth, the little bit of it that we have, which is like folks talk about before, if we're going to compare it to the world, then we like top 20 or somewhere in there, top 8, top 10, top 20, but we got some money. But once again, you know what I'm saying, what do we have to show? We have no schools, we have no hospitals, we have no grocery stores, we have no banks, even though the AKAs, Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority just got the first black credit union, I believe. Now, I don't know exactly what that means because I don't know. But I do know, like I said, what the black bourgeoisie have ultimately meant to the black society as a whole in America. And it ain't necessarily in our benefit at all because, like I said, most of that comes from the powers that be. Most of that money, most of that power, most of that influence that black people get, even by going to HBCUs, is still finance. It still goes back into this white supremacist system. So, like I said, until we find a way to pool our money, pool our resources, and come together and do something for ourselves, for each other, all this old black wealth and liberation shit need to go out the window. Because even though I hear and I understand where we ultimately will want to try to go with it, I don't get it. Might should throw you a bone, y'all motherfuckers just go run after it. You know what I'm saying? Might just say fetch, y'all motherfuckers go fetch. But hey, man, to each his own. But that's gonna take me back a little bit. That's gonna take me back a little bit to a post that I recently posted, on my social media page, and that was talking about a moral and spiritual war that's going on outside. You know what I'm saying? And you pay attention, it's not hard to tell that we are at war. Morally and spiritually, we are at war. But what is hard to tell is who's on the side of good and who's on the side of evil, who's on the side of good and who's on the side of bad. And it's hard to tell because we have a lot of, man, I'm not a huge religious person. I like to think of myself more spiritual, that old cliche type shit. I ain't religious, I'm spiritual, that awakened nigga shit. But for real. But what I will say is, I do think we're in a time, I wouldn't say of revelations. I think we're moving into the time of revelations. But right now, I think we're in the book right before Revelation. I think it was David. What's the book before Revelation? But anyway, it pretty much talks about false prophets, right? It's what it is, false prophets, just false powers that be. We are basically at the cusp of revealing. You know what I'm saying? We are at the revealing stage right before the war of Armageddon, but we're still at war, and you can still see it. You understand? We not be at the ultimate war, but we are still at war. We can still see the moral and spiritual warfare. You understand what I'm saying? It's like, like I said, man, I ain't trying to be funny. You know, we always talk about gender war, but oh, man, this shit is fucked up, man. Like for real, this shit is fucked up. We're living in a time where everything, like I said, I call it the upside down space, like Stranger Things and shit. I'm gonna have a hoodie line come out upside down, but that's another thing. But I really feel like we're in the upside down space right now, man, and we gotta get back around and shit. But like I said, we at the brink of the ultimate war, and we gotta kind of like pave the way. We gotta make a clear distinction of who's for good and who's for evil. You understand me? Because we've been manipulated to think that a lot of this shit that's going on, which is clear evil, is good. And you know, I ain't gonna get too deep into that. I'm just gonna use a simple analogy, especially for black people. Remember, at one point in time, slavery was considered good. It was something that was commended. It was something that was sought of. So, like I said, man, just because they put that narrative that something that's supposed to be good, it doesn't make it good. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't make it good at all. But yeah, so like I said, you know, we at war, man. We at this spiritual war. But just to go back to close out, well, actually, to go back to what I to started on with the whole wealth and niggas thinking that's gonna be the liberation of our change, of our oppression. Wealth is. You understand? We've been down that route before. To keep it 100, we've been down that route. We had wealth, we had land, we had quote unquote prestige, we had banks, we had hospitals, we had grocery stores, we had things of those natures before. You understand me? And what happened? If you know, you know. You understand? They came and bombed over Baghdad, that shit. You understand me? They came and bombed that shit, killing people, destroying property, and yeah, take it as it is. So, like I said, me personally, like I've always said, nothing is going to change as far as our oppression goes until the heart of men change, until something starts to strike. Two ways I would say change will come. Because as you see, my shirt says peace and love. I do think something will have to strike inside the hearts of our oppressors, and it have to trickle down through generation, through their children, for shit to change that way. If not, I think we have to fight fire with fire. And I'm just gonna keep it a buck here. You understand me? You understand? Like, nobody in the history of man has really gotten anything by asking, marching, pleading, begging their oppressor. You gotta go to war for that. Because it would be nice if folks would just understand what things is. It would be nice if folks would just acknowledge that they have manipulated time and power, and in that time and that power is almost over. That manipulation is starting to reform back into its rightful time and power in its place. You know, all things happen in due time. And in due time, all things shall happen. You know, like I said, I don't really got a whole lot to say on this. I keep it just like it is. Asshole Podcast, opinions like assholes. I thank you for listening to mine.